There's no makeup police. Well, if there are, they've never found me because I am the Scarlet Pimpernel. Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how I did this elegant makeup for mature skins. I'm Amelia and I love all things beauty, so join me and let the fun commence. The first thing that a mature skin needs is moisture. That could be a very light moisturiser, it could be slightly heavier if you're a dry skin type, which I am. I've always been dry. Even when I was younger, I've always been dry. I've always needed extra help. And I suppose it's a bit like that, that it kind of makes me think about mature skins in that context as well, in that while we do have to do things differently as we get older in terms of our makeup, some of the things are predictably the same, which is basically if you're dry skin, you're always going to need moisture, and if you're oily, still an oily skin, you're always going to need some kind of oil control underneath your foundation, because that way the foundation will lie really well. It is exactly like, I'm told, even though I'm not a DIY person by any stretch of the imagination, it's exactly like painting a wall, apparently. It's all in the preparation. Find a moisturiser that you like, that you're excited about. It could be the fragrance, it could be the texture. You know, it's all about finding products that are a pleasure to use and not a chore, and actually add a bit of joy to your life, as opposed to, oh, I'm older and it's all a bit depressing. It's not depressing at all. It's all good. And as I always say to my husband, getting older beats the alternative. So that's the way I look at it. And I also look at it like that with makeup as well, which is, you know what? What's fun for the youngsters can also be fun for us as well. In fact, it is. I'm here to tell you, it really is. So let's embrace it. I have put on this, I mean, it's a moisturiser, but it's actually marketed as a primer. What's it called? This is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I've got a teeny tiny jar of this, which is like it's not a sample, you can buy them, but it was just a sort of a starter. It's great for winter for me. I think it's slightly too rich in the summer, but it's perfect for these colder months, especially here in the UK. I've got the heating on and it's very chilly. I've got my foundation. I am using Dior Backstage today, which is it's face and body. So if you're wearing something where your décolleté is exposed, an evening or something, it means you can put a little bit on, well, anywhere actually, but I've only just recently bought this, but that's kind of where I envisage I would use it, because I have got some pigmentation there. That'll be the subject of another video, because I have bought some products to, over time, hopefully, eliminate them. I generally like a liquid foundation that is hydrating. And if it's not hydrating, I can still cope, because I always use something of good quality underneath the foundation, so I can still get the moisture from the moisturiser. But I cannot impress upon you enough that you need a good moisturiser underneath your foundation or whatever you're going to use as your base, because that's what's going to give you a glowy finish. The one thing that's super duper aging, I think, is a makeup that is very, very matte. When I say makeup, I mean a foundation, a complexion product that's very, very matte. The one thing that happens to our skin is it gets drier and more matte with age, and while that can be a relief, I would imagine, and certainly what I'm told, if you've sort of been oily all your life and now your skin may become maybe more normal, it's still got a sort of a more matte patina, as it were. We want to have glow. Doesn't mean it's shine, it doesn't mean it's grease or oil, but it's just the glow of youth. I remember thinking this when my kids were toddlers, they were running around. They had the flush of youth, which it's just kind of inbuilt into their skin. I mean, it's just so lovely. And that's kind of the thing to sort of recreate. That's where sort of blusher down the line, blusher becomes important. But your complexion product is the most important thing. You want to have enough of a glow to look fresh and vibrant, and we can do that at any age. So I have just put that on. My colour for reference, if we are shade twins, or if you think my complexion is slightly similar to yours, just to give you the idea of the family, is 3WP, which Dior classes as 3 warm peach. Foundation is a bit of a minefield, and you do have to, it's a bit of trial and error, and this really is where having a real live consultant in a store testing a couple of shades on you that's kind of invaluable. And then once you know the kind of shade families you're in, it becomes a lot easier, and it certainly becomes a lot easier when you're watching people like me. If they're a certain shade and they're a shade twin, regardless of whether the content particularly is appropriate for you or is interesting, those shade matches can be invaluable when you see somebody online. So look out for that as well. So that's my foundation. I haven't used concealer, but I will a little bit later. Now, I'm in the habit of putting my foundation on first, and it's not necessarily the way I should always do it, but I tend to do it for a makeup that I'm pretty confident about. Otherwise, I will do my eyeshadow first, and if there's any little fallout or any little specks that come, it means that it's just a lot easier to cover up. But this is what I'm going to use today, I'm confident with. I am using as an eyeshadow base, and I'd really recommend this for mature eyes. This is Lisa Eldridge. They're liquid eyeshadows. They're fantastic. There are two colours to use as an eyeshadow primer. One's Phoebe and one's Irene, they're the names. One's sort of a beigey colour and the other one is a slightly more pinky colour. My skin tone, as you can see, is a sort of a tan skin tone, so it sort of suits me better, but honestly, I use the other one. I've used Irene lots of times as well. It matters, sort of doesn't matter that much if you're using it as an eyeshadow base. So just put a little bit on. It is so forgiving on mature eyes. I mean, I've got very crepey lids. It's not just age, it's a lifetime of wearing probably inappropriate eyeshadow, some of it quite drying, but it's just the reality of getting older. So I've got crepey lids, and what it does is it just smooths them over. I mean, it's just incredible. And what it really does is it makes applying your eyeshadow a lot easier, and the eyeshadow just lasts longer, so that's great. And the other thing that I'm sort of evangelical about, partly because the skin on my eyes is quite dark, it means that the colour that you get from the eyeshadow is true on your lids. That's really nice as well, because it means you can get excited about an eyeshadow and it really will look at least as good as it does in the pan on your eyes, as opposed to what I've had in the past before I've been using products like this. And I have to say, this is the best one I've tried, and I've tried them all, I think, instead of then the eyeshadow kind of just sort of somehow being absorbed into your eyeshadow and just looking a bit sort of not just lackluster, but half-hearted as well, which is even worse. And I don't need more half-hearted things in my life. I want full engagement. Natasha Denona, I need a warm palette. Let's have a look. Look at these shades. So these are all super easy, wearable shades. I bought this palette and I've hardly used it, just because there were sort of other things that I was kind of getting involved with. But as I've swatched it, I've realised it is incredibly user-friendly. I love Natasha Denona as a brand anyway. I think these palettes are better value than they look, because you just get so much, and Natasha gives us this whole range of fantastic creamy mattes, as well as some shimmers, as well as some really kind of high drama if you want to add a little bit of that to the lid in the evening. I'm just going to use a very neutral, easy, warm shade just in the crease, using a fluffy brush. And as you can see, there's not that much. It's a very light shade, really. There's pigment, but there's not that much change. But there's just enough to just give a little bit of definition to the crease. Now, I do think as we get older, honestly, I think you can wear whatever colours you want, whatever eyeshadows excite you. It's just a question of the application, I think, is the most important thing. If you see on my eye, the crease, where it sort of goes in, the hollow as it were, is here. The important thing is, as we get older, because our eye just droops a little bit and falls, and it may also be that you've actually got hooded eyes anyway, and regardless of your age, it's important to not just put the eyeshadow in this crease here, but to take it a little bit above, so that as I'm looking dead on at you, you should still be able to see the shadow actually here, not just there. And that's how we open up the eye, and it sort of lifts the eye and gives us a more awake look, and it's actually a more youthful, more vibrant appearance. And that's what it's about. It's not so much that, well, for me, it's not so much that I want to go back 25 years. I just don't want to look exhausted and like I've given up. Because for me, it really is psychological. If I look in the mirror and I look exhausted, as if I've given up, then that's really, not only is it how I feel, but it might compound, that feeling if that is how I've woken up feeling. So this way, I think it cheers me up, and weirdly, I think it changes how people see me as well. So I think it's all good. Plus, makeup is fun because there's no rules. And it's all about making yourself, for me, it's all about making myself feel good. It's not so much whether other people look at me and say, oh, doesn't she look good, youthful, whatever. It's not so much that. It's more that if I feel good and I feel confident and I feel I've done sort of the best with myself, or I'm sort of pleased with whether I look alert and engaged and energetic, then that just makes me feel good. And so I go about my day with a more positive attitude and a spring in my step, if not physically, then metaphorically. So that's what it comes down to. As you can see, I've gone into the crease, I've gone a little bit above. Now I realise I didn't actually do my eyebrows, and I should have done my eyebrows before doing this. So I think it's better if you do the eyebrows first, because it frames the face, and that way you can see where you'll go. It's easier for you to see where you're going. So all I've got here is I've got an eyebrow pencil. This one happens to be from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's a dark brown one, probably slightly too dark for my colouring, I think. I should have probably gone for the chocolate, but I think it was out of stock, and so I didn't get it, and I went for the dark one, and I think it is a little bit too dark, but it's still fine, and honestly, I'm still going to use it because this is real life, and eyebrows are very important in framing the face. I've also got this, which I don't always use, which is also Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it's just a brow gel that gives me a little bit more depth and keeps the brows in place. This is also in dark brown. I think it's also slightly too dark for me, but again, I think it's fine. I just need to make sure that I don't look like Brezhnev or Robert Maxwell with my very dark eyebrows, because my hair's not super dark. You can see what I've done with the transition shade, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to darken it up a little bit. Let me just show you the shade I'm going to use. I'm going to use that shade there, if you can see that one there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that in the corner here. The Natasha Denona eyeshadows blend themselves. They are just magnificent. I mean, there is a reason why she's so popular, and there is a reason why she's so popular across all ages, and it's just that while she gives you pizzazz and she gives you lovely blendable neutral colours as well, the quality is undeniable. That's where the loyalty is, which not surprisingly. I'll just blend this out. Now, I think if I wanted to, that would probably be enough to put a bit of mascara on and go about my day with a bit of blush or lip gloss or lipstick. I just want to show it to you because you don't have to do the whole pizzazz if you don't feel like it, or it's not your style, or you really do want something sort of very quick and easy and that's not going to be too glossy, as it were. And it does depend about how you're spending your day, whether you're working and what environment you work in, but also if you're not working or you're with children or grandchildren or just going about your day, it kind of depends on the environment. Here we go. It also depends on where you live. You know, there are certain places, it's like I understand in Paris, the style of makeup, or the style of makeup amongst the French, is actually quite minimalist, with the emphasis on a wonderful lipstick. But it depends where you are, and it depends on your style. Look, this could be enough. Lots of definition, bit of mascara, and you're out the door. I'm gonna, however, because this is a makeup video, I am gonna add some more colour. So I'm gonna use this colour here, Snug. This was the one that I was super attracted to, actually, with a short brush like that. That will pick up the colour, hopefully. Yep, good. I'm just going to put this on the mobile lid, so the bit of the lid that goes up to the crease. And I do feel that as we get a little bit older, what you've got to be mindful of is not to put shimmer sort of in this bit of the eye here. Just keep it on the mobile lid. The bit where the eyeball is, that's the way I look at it. So if I sort of was to press it, that's where I can feel my eyeball. I find this way of doing eyeshadow translates really well into any kind of shade range. In other words, put a sort of a medium shade on your crease and above, darken it very slightly, and then you either leave it or you can put a bit of shimmer or a brighter colour on the mobile on the mobile lid. I'm all for spending lots of time on your makeup, but you don't always have time, and I think it's helpful to have a sort of a formula to kind of fall back on. It's a bit like roast chicken. I have one way of doing roast chicken. I read recipes of other ways of doing roast chicken. I will occasionally do the recipes of other roast chickens, but I will always, when I'm tired and when I can't be bothered and people still need to eat, I will still fall back on my classic roast chicken. But anyway, I digress. That's what it looks like. What do we say this is called? It is called Snug. I'm also going to put a little bit of shimmer in the corner just to show you how it lifts the eye. Now, you might not be able to see it when I do it, but after I've got a way to put my mascara on, I think it will be visible. This technique of just putting a little bit of shimmer in the corner that's quite bright, it really lifts the face. Okay, now ordinarily, I would not always put eyeliner on my eyes. These days, to be honest, as I've got older, I've been using one of the dark browns in a given eyeshadow palette. In this case, I have got a dark, well, I've got, oh my goodness, she's given us 3 dark browns. So I just use one of those with a little eyeliner brush that looks like that. Look at that, it's a really tiny one. Then I'd sort of go very close to the lash. That's what I'm going to do today. I don't do liquid eyeliner anymore. I mean, I used to when I was younger. I'm not even sure it suited me then, but I certainly wore it. I think it's quite harsh. And the other thing that I would say is the colour brown is your friend as you get older and on mature eyes. Black is very, very harsh. I do see the youngsters looking amazing, and I think you can look amazing. I just think that when you're older, soft is your friend. Soft definition is much more youthful, doesn't show the lines up as much, and is more forgiving. And that's kind of what we don't need to beat ourselves up. We just need to go with the flow and go with what suits us. The thing that I am going to do, however, is the mid brown that I just used on the lid. I'm just going to put a little teeny tiny bit underneath. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to sort of stop in the middle bit, my lower lid, just to give it a bit more definition. But again, not all the way, and I'm not using dark brown. I'm only going to use a dark brown on the lid, and even then I'll show you, it'll be very, very sparing. So just a little bit here, always lifting up, okay, like that. With my teeny tiny brush, let's see which one I'm going to use. So these are the shades, just to show you. I can use a brown, or I can use a dark brown that's got a little bit of shimmer in it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just the brown, that one there. And that mid brown is called Flashover, that one there. So what I'm going to do, it's not going to be a thick line. I'm putting it on my brush, then on the back of my hand, actually I won't do it on the back, I'll do it on the back of a tissue, just dab it, and then I'm going to go really close to the lashes. So the way this feels is it's just going to feel like I'm kind of wiggling my lashes as opposed to going on the skin, because I just want it really, really close, and then a little flick up. So let's see if that's enough to show up. It may not be, but let's try it, because I've not tried this before with this shade. Let's have a look. It's all experimentation, and that's all good. You know, like they say, the older you get, oh, you should try new things, it's good for the brain. So I put trying new makeup in that category. I see it as the Sudoku with a bit more fashion sense. So I'm sure I'm doing something good for my cognitive development. It is very, very, very subtle, but once I put mascara on, I think that's going to give me enough definition. I'm only going from the middle of the eyelid out. I'm not going all the way. It's not a case of less is more, which I'm always a bit suspicious of as a phrase, because I think life's a bit more complicated than that. It's not so much that, it's more that you've got to go with a light hand, and I don't always have a light hand, I have to say. I can be a bit heavy-handed or overzealous. There's been a tiny bit of fallout, but nothing that we can't handle, because at the end of the day, that's what these brushes are for. And honestly, if fallout's your problem, you're doing well. If that's your biggest problem. This is what it looks like so far. You can see we've got the shimmer on the lid, and can you see the inner corner where it just brightened it up a little bit? Now I haven't put concealer on, which I will do with you now, and then I'll go away and put my mascara on so you can see what the eyes look like once they've been finished. I think what I am going to do, however, I'm going to put something a little bit lighter underneath the brow because I would like to bring that more into the foreground. I'm going to use this colour, which is perfect actually. It's a sort of warm bone colour here. And all I'm going to do is just put it above here, just below the brow bone, just below. It's quite subtle, but it makes a difference. Yeah, perfect. I'm now going to put my concealer on. Now I have gone round the houses with concealer. The one that I really like is made by House Labs. Recently, as in a few days ago, I bought the Hourglass Vanish concealer, which looks like this. This colour is called peach or apricot? It's called apricot, because I wanted something that had a little bit of a brightening effect, but not really not really pale. I'm going to put a little bit here. This is a trick that I urge you to try. Up that way, and then for me, this is important because it's where my dark sort of bits are. This concealer really spreads. It's so satisfying, and it's very, very creamy. I'm using the Hourglass concealer brush that you buy separately. Hourglass do make fabulous brushes, I have to say. It's not a really huge range, but they do a wonderful foundation brush, and this concealer brush is fabulous. What I do is I'm going to just pat this like this. Now I should say I am an assiduous user of eye cream, and that's the thing that has really helped, because even though, as I've said, I've got crepey lids, that's age, they're not as bad as they would be if I wasn't using eye cream. And the same with my crow's feet underneath, they're nowhere near as bad as they would be. Because I know when I run out my eye cream, and I don't wear eye cream, even for like one night, makes a difference. So that's the thing that's made a difference, I think, for me. I pat that in here, and then can you see where I've put this up here? This is all about lifting, because we want to lift up. So what this does is I'm sort of pat and flick up, because the name of the game is beating gravity. Now what's good about this concealer brush is as you can see, it's angled, so it gets right in there. It's nice and soft, and I've had this a while, and I really do wash my brushes, and I'm not always that gentle with them, and not a single hair has come out, so that's got to be a good thing. Pat, 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 and flick. Okay. It also just helps to clean up the eyeshadow a little bit. Now at the moment it does look a bit brighter. Don't know what you think. It looks a bit brighter than possibly I need, but by the time we put blusher on and there's a bit more of a glow in there, it'll all blend in nicely. The other thing I'm a big fan of is take your foundation brush and go over it, just to get everything as seamless as possible. I'm going to go away and put my mascara on, and then I'll be back and we'll do the rest of it. I've put my mascara on. I'll tell you what I put on. I used a black mascara. This is Roller Lash by Benefit. I want to say something about black mascara though. Black mascara is fantastic when you've got an eye look like this, where you have got a bit of shimmer and there's sort of definition. However, if you want to be using mascara without eyeshadow, or with just the bare minimum, if you were just going to use this, for example, just to smooth out your eyelids, brown mascara is the most forgiving for a mature skin. It's softer, as I said, it's more forgiving, it's easier to wear, and it's just more natural looking. When I say natural, I don't mean I want to look like I'm wearing no makeup, because I don't want to look like I'm wearing no makeup, because I know what I look like with no makeup, which is fine. I'm trying to enhance. I would say it gives your eyes an enhanced look without any harshness at all. Please look at brown mascaras. They run the gamut from something that's available in Boots or Superdrug, like Maybelline or Rimmel London. I mean, Maybelline makes a fantastic mascara for around £10, I think, or 11, up to the premier brands, and then there's in between like Benefit. But look for brown. Otherwise, if you're putting eyeshadow on like I've done today, then black is your friend, because you actually want that definition. I don't know what you think of this look, but if I used it with brown, it still looks good, but you don't have the same definition on the eyes, just because you've got more going on the eyelids. As I said, I always have brown and black on the go. I just use them differently. If your eye shape, and if you're used to wearing mascara on the lower lashes, always I would suggest wear brown. That's what I do. So I will use a brown mascara on the lower, even if I'm wearing black above. These days, I don't tend to wear mascara on my lower lids. I find it just seems to somehow drag me down a little bit. I don't know whether it's because my eyes are darker or whether because it just emphasizes the lines, but I also know it does depend on your eye shape and it depends on your skin tone. So you will know, you do you. We don't talk often enough about brown, how brown is your friend when you've got a mature skin. Brown eyeliner and brown eyeshadows, brown tones or neutral tones, as well as brown mascara. Now, onto blusher and lips. I like liquid blushers. I also like powder. I mean, to be honest, I like blush in general. I think it's really important as we get older. It's really important on a mature skin to give you that sort of glow. And as I said, that flush of youthful energy. There's a really nice one by Huda Beauty, which I really like. It's called Latte. And it comes with a sort of applicator that sort of looks a bit, I mean, I always think it looks like a kebab, but it has got this sort of funny kind of bobbly thing. So I tend to put it on the back of my hand, like so, and then just pick it up with a blusher brush. Well, any kind of brush, actually, just a fat brush. And I saturate the brush with it, with the colour, and then just dot it on like that. The benefit of liquid blushes is if you do it this way and you've saturated the brush, you get a sort of more of a sheer wash of colour and it's easier to work with. You don't have to go for brown, depending on your skin tone, depending on what you like. You can go for a pink, which again, as long as you sort of do it this way, you're going to get a lovely natural finish. You're not going to get stripes. You're not going to look like a clown. You're just going to look flushed and alive, which is good. I always think that's a plus. You can experiment. There's no makeup police. Well, if there are, they've never found me because I am the Scarlet Pimpernel. So you can just try it. Huda Beauty does do these lovely, I mean, she does lots of colours. She does peaches and pinks as well as sort of a burgundy as well. Just go and choose something, again, that you're excited about, that's fun. So that's that. So I've got a bit of colour. I then like to, I don't always do this, I then like to either go in with another colour, a slightly pinkier colour, just because I'm sort of a tan colour and I can look a bit sallow, or I sort of leave it. I think what I'd like to do is put a pinkish tone on, which won't necessarily be visible, but will give me a little bit more of a highlight. The blush I'm going to use is by NARS, and it's just a sort of pinky tone. It's quite sheer. It's called, this shade is called Deep Throat. That's one for the film buffs amongst us. And I'm just going to use my blusher brush and just put a little bit above, just for a little bit more of a lift. Okay, that's it. Now, lip liner. I am wedded to these Christian Dior lip liners, which I really like. They've got a lip brush on the end, if you're wearing sort of, particularly wearing a deeper colour or a red or something like that. And then they've got a very creamy pencil. I use 310. I use 310 for absolutely every colour because it's just right for my skin tone. But again, go and experiment. The thing about lip liners, I think, is it's useful to try some of the cheaper brands first. Find the sort of tone that excites you or goes with the lip glosses or lipsticks you like. And then you can always sort of move up the ranks if you want to in terms of colour and texture and longevity. It's not always the case that the more you pay, the longer the lip liner lasts. It's kind of trial and error. I really like this brand though for lip liners. I actually really like this brand for all things lip as well. Really super important thing. Focus on the middle strip of your lip. So the Cupid's bow, and don't go all the way to the corner. You're not meant to do that. And it's sort of force of habit. I'd always do it and then rub it off. And then the same here, look, and just the middle bit. And that weirdly gives you a fuller lip. The lipstick I'm going to use is again by Dior. It's number 240. It's a lovely, let me show it to you. I love these. They do some great neutral beigey colours. So easy to wear. I am not against a bright lip. However, I do think it's nicer and kinder and softer on a mature skin to, if you're going to have a bright lip, you can't have a lot going on your eyeshadow. It needs to be more matte, I feel, for the day especially. So I always tend to do one or the other, a bright lip and a neutral eye, or the other way around. It's not so much that the eyeshadows are bright, but we have got some shimmer going on. By the way, remember I told you about the lighter shade going in the corner? Once you put mascara on, it's just a very sort of, it's a brightening effect, but it's not sort of, oh, it's not too much in your face, I don't think. I don't know what you think, but I'd like you to think about that, because I urge you to sort of try it as a technique, because it does, I think it does work. Okay, and that is the finished look. As I said, bit of iridescent colour on the eyelids, brightens the eyelids. I feel, for me, I sort of feel pulled together. If I look in the mirror, oh, my hair's, you know, my hair is a work in progress, but I feel pulled together. The way I would describe myself as I'm looking, I kind of feel like this is the best version of myself. I still feel me. I've done this for myself. I'm delighted to share it with you, so thank you for joining me. But it is all about making myself feel good and myself feeling energetic and vibrant. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you'll join me in the next video, and thank you so much for your company today, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.